What's up, everybody? It's Tommy Runs, and this is the Run, Eat, Sleep Show, episode number 82. I'm Tommy Runs. I'm your host, and thank you for being here. If you're new, please make sure you subscribe, mash that subscribe button. I was going to say just keep mashing it, but I think you have to do it an odd number of times to, at the end, have still be following me. So just hit it one time. That's fine. One time, subscribe. Thank you. Appreciate it. The more subscribers we have, obviously, the more leverage that it gives me to be able to continue to get good guests. But then also, it provides me with the opportunity to experience some of these cool, crazy things that go on in the running world. And this episode was one of those reasons, one of those results of of one of those opportunities. I had the chance to go out to Eugene, Oregon to participate in like media types things with for the World Championships in Eugene in July. And one of the cool parts about that was I got to go to Eugene, got to experience some of the races up close in person and see what it looks like for athletes to like live their dreams in front of us and really leave their all out on the track or the road. So that was just really cool and inspiring. But during that trip, On Running was the reason why I was out there. On Running was actually able to have me go up to Portland and go to the headquarters and check out what they're doing, some of the new shoes that they have come out, some of the technology behind, what we're seeing and how they've evolved over time. It started off with this crazy concept of that the founder like decided like, yo, if I cut up some water hoses and if I the technology within that, like if I had like some way to land and softly like shift as it going, so it's not like you're just, it was just crazy. Like it's the concept of like cutting up water hoses and putting it on a speed board that we eventually learn to see from On. It's just crazy how far they've come from that, and the idea of just doing that is just revolutionary in itself. But able to see like their transition and how they've just been coming along in the modern world with just competing with other brands. And as you can see, the last few shoes that On has been dropping are just slightly different each time. And I was able to sit down and talk to two of the shoe developers or shoe designers that are responsible mainly right now, that are super hot right now, is for the On track spikes. So the cool thing about you'll see in this episode was they started before the in July, 11 months before July's, Eugene World Championships. That's when they started even like discussions on these track spikes that you saw so many On athletes wear on the track and perform at the highest level. And after July, they obviously had the Diamond League things and other track meets. And you just keep seeing On athletes just go for it and do very well in these track spikes. And the way that they went about it was so unique sounding to me. Like when I found out in this episode, you'll see. So just check it out. Like I don't want to spoil it, but the way that they went about it and included the athletes every step of the way to speed track or fast track a high performing spike to a professional that is, career is on the line, so you need to have the best of the best. The way that they included athletes in this process and Dathan Ritzenheim as the coach, it just blew my mind of how just forward thinking that method was. I'm sure a lot of companies do something like this, but for them to be able to put out a shoe that performs as high as it does or the level that it does in 11 months is just absolutely insane. So we've seen the Cloud Monster, which is one of my favorite training shoes. Check the Cloud Monster out if you're looking for a daily trainer. We've seen the new. Well, we've kind of got hints at seeing the new evolution of the Cloud Echo Boom 3 that we're seeing a lot of the athletes wear. It's the super shoe that they have that's more for the road. That's definitely for the road. You've seen like people like Ben Flanagan crush it in it, and so many others crush it in the marathon and shorter distances. Ben Flanagan just won Falmouth road race in those shoes as well. That's a 7-mile road race that's very, very competitive. So it was just really cool to sit down to talk to these two people, Jordan Donnelly and Timon Kuhlenkamp, sat down with me in Eugene at the On House to just discuss the evolution of these shoes and how they came to be what we see today. Sorry for the long lead up, but just really excited because I'm a shoe guy, as you can tell. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Jordan Donnelly and Timon Kuhlenkamp, who are responsible for the shoes that we're going to be seeing now in the track spikes that we've been seeing on the track that have just been crushing it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you like the episode. So today I have Jordan with me and Timon with me, and they are part of the shoe development team. And if you could just introduce yourselves really quickly to talk about like what you do for the company and a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of go into some shoe questions.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jordan. Nice to meet you. Nice to be on the pod. Where for On, I lead the creation of it's called the Lightning team at On Running. And what we do is we create a high performance product specifically for athletes to enable them to train harder, recover faster, and then race to win. So it encompasses everything from training shoes, recovery, and then what the people see on the track, the racing shoes, and on the roads, the racing shoes on the roads. And I'm here joined with Timon from our team in Zurich.
I'm Timon. I'm a footwear designer, focusing on the Lightning products as well, on the track and on the road. And thanks for having us here.
No problem. Like I guess we could just dive into it because like the cool part about being here is you get to see the on house in the backyard, and then you see this wall of shoes. And the thing that kind of grabbed me was the fact that you can see phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of both track spikes, the 1500 meter spike and then the 10,000 meter. What was that like going through like this process of creating something that is new? Obviously track spikes have been around forever, but something that looks new and has a different feel and it really remains close to the On brand.
Yeah, I mean, if we just roll back maybe like 18 months or so, I would say, the founder of On, Olivier, he's here around somewhere. He invented the brand On and the technology, the cloud technology. He called, I think, both of us up probably around the same time. We were working at some competitors, and he's like, hey, we really need to up our game with the high performance products and really deliver the best for our athletes. And we want to bring you on board to make that happen, and try to really ensure that our cloud technology is really going to be a big benefit on the world stage. So we formed the team back in, would have been August, 15th of August last year. It's like 11 months ago.
Oh, wow. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, we already had signed at OEC athletes and quite a few of the professional athletes. But we just needed to make sure we were delivering that high performance product to those athletes. So, forming a team of sports scientists, designers, engineers, chemical engineers, whole different, expertise of people, putting the athletes in the center and say, how can we all contribute together with the athlete across those different phases for each month's different iterations to really develop the best product here for Eugene for the world champs.
Awesome. And so we've both been around 11 months or so. So how has, from the outside looking in, the company has just made like leaps and bounds, it seems like in the last, 6 to 12 months of what we get to see and what we get to put on our feet, which is big to say for a shoe company because normally it takes quite some time. You don't really see much drastic change, and I'd love to kind of hear how you all feel about the change that's been happening in the last 12 months, and to see what we get to like try on our feet today, and you see performing well on the track, and what we're really excited about on the road, and you'll show us a little bit more later. But how do you feel about the progression?
I think it's just great to see what is possible if the full brand is committed to go on, like to play one card and goes really heads down and trying to get a really spot on the track as well. I think just the full commitment within the last 11 months has been amazing. And what Jordan mentioned as well, putting the athlete in the center. We knew from the beginning that the time is tight, but everyone had just one goal to make it possible until like the World Champs here, and then onto the road for Paris 24 and onwards. But just to really use those 11 months as best as possible. So we started to work on the first prototypes already in September, went to Boulder in October to like get to know the Dathan, the coach, but then also our athletes from the OAC, and to really test and validate and really get down and really figure out, hey, what works, but also most importantly, hey, what doesn't work and why is it not working, and how can we improve from there.
How like I know it's all about performance, right? And you, like you said, a short timetable to kind of make this happen. But like, how much did you really lean on the athletes to work through this process to make sure that I mean, because I'm sure from like a technical standpoint, you would have this set shoe that was going to be perfect. But how much influence have the coaches or Dathan and the athletes had on what we see today?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have probably 4 or 5 different ways to gather the data and analyze it to put it back into the product, and the athlete is the center of all of that. So to give you an idea, we'd have like mechanical type tests, which is done by machines, and then more biomechanical with athletes, like physiological biomechanical type tests. And there's a lot of like technology and devices and different stuff which you can really attach the athlete to the product and see how the product is reacting with the body.
Yeah.
So the athlete might not be able to verbally tell you the smaller details, so the devices can do that. But then how they feel with the product on the foot and on their body, the apparel, that's so important to us, because we've seen the other day Helen Obiri, Alicia running 25 laps, Joe 25 laps. Like, there's nothing we're on the sidelines, we can't do anything. So they're the ones going through the motions and feeling the impact on the body. So they need to let us know exactly what they're feeling and how can we make it more comfortable for them.
Yeah, because it's like just for like the Cloud Monster for instance. I mean, it's not a track spec obviously, but I feel like it for a shoe that does what it's able to do. Often you'll have a shoe on your foot that doesn't necessarily feel intuitive to like you as a runner, or it feels like an addition. Which sometimes can be difficult to work through and transition between speeds and all that. Like, how have you guys struck the balance on shoes like that to make them what we need in cushion and all that stuff, but then also make sure that it's a performance aspect as well?
Yeah, I mean, to be very pragmatic, we just look at the racers as a journey, from the start line to the finish line. And we'd say, okay, physiologically, what happens to the body across the different phases of the race? Mentally, what happens, and how can we build product solutions for that? So, for example, at 10,000 meters, it's like just over 6 miles. In this championships, it's usually like a fast, very, very fast 5-mile tempo run, and then a 1-mile kick.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what the athletes, the journey they're going to experience. So we're like, okay, those first 5 miles, let's just try to reduce the impact on the body as much as possible. That when they get to that last mile kick, the legs are fresh, that they can go.
Right.
And that's our job as product people, to find solutions for that. So that's pretty simple for us. Not so simple, but it's kind of, okay, well, get the right type of foam, bump up as much as possible within the rules for those first 5 miles, and then have something, some kind of carbon plate or some kind of something which can get the athlete on their toes, that when it comes to the kick, that they're really able to do at the business end.
So what about the so you're talking about the 10,000 meter? We have some of the shoes here. So without going into obviously too much detail, what are we looking at here? Like, because I mean, it to me it looks a little different than a traditional racing spike. So can you talk to me about what is unique about it that you're proud of being part of the team?
Yeah, I mean, what we learned, especially like talking to our athletes and testing the first prototypes, what Jordan mentioned as well, that cushion and comfort, even for those 25 laps, is key, just to like for the final kick. So maximum cushioning under the forefoot, plus like a stiff plate to allow you to kick and gain some meters on the final stretch was one of the key elements here. So we have the maximum stack height of foam, and as you see here on the back as well, the spike plate loops up and is sandwiched between 2 foams around the heel. And besides that, very minimal but still like proper upper to give you support and like that you need. Especially if it's getting tactic and there are a lot of spikes and steps all over the place, that you're still holding on to that one.
Right. And I like that if you check out like at the Instagram, I'll show up some pictures of the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but it looks really cool to see what you all kind of constructed as like the first pass of this. And how crazy is it to see, from what we saw, the phase 1 to actually have this in your hand now? What's that feel like?
Oh, so one of our athletes, Morgan McDonald, the Australian guy, he asked the same question to us. He's like, oh, you guys must be exhausted. like you're just always working so hard on all this stuff. Like, how's it feel to finally see it? And we were like, it's like such a relief that we get here to the finish line and at the World Champs with the products, but it's also like so gratifying to see, you know, like athletes like taking medals, and it makes it all worth it, you know, because we know that's one spike there, but the amount of people who've gone into that process to really make this happen is like, it's more than just us two here, you know. So to see it, the athletes rock it at the track and really perform it to their highest levels is pretty special for us, actually.
Right. And can we pull out the big boy here we got here?
Yes,
so well, I'll let you introduce this one.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at here?
So this is the Cloud Boom Echo 3. So it's I would say the evolution of our Cloud Boom range. We started with the Cloud Boom, then we had Cloud Boom Echo, and now we have the next Cloud Boom Echo. We called it 3. So there's 3 key ingredients to most super shoes, let's say.
Right.
That's, you know, the highest stack heights, which we've seen over the past 5-6 years, the introduction of a carbon plate or a stiff kind of plate, and then the super foam. And within those 3 ingredients, that's kind of what most people work with. But how you apply them, so the density of the foam, the shape of the plate, the exact heights, the differences in the heel and the forefoot, that's where you can make a lot of advantages. Or if you don't have such a good design or such a good foam, you might be falling a little bit further back. So that's when it comes to the midsole, the midfoot. We asked ourselves one simple question with every element is, how does this make the athlete faster? Because we want to be like the Formula One car of like the brand, right? This is like the F1, this is the Ferrari on the racetrack. And if there's something in additional detail on there and it doesn't have a performance benefit to make the athlete faster, we're like, okay, that can go on like a, you know, an easy running shoe, you know, not on the World Championship final marathon shoe. So going through that process, asking ourselves those questions, applying, we can't give too many secrets away in the technology, exactly what we did, but applying those principles. I mean, we've seen fantastic results. We had Helen Obiri. She won the Istanbul half marathon, I think the 4th fastest time in history for a woman. We had 4 guys here at the World Championship marathon.
Yeah, I was out there and got to see, and one of them went by and I had to do a double check, like, is that the, you know? Yeah. And they look really great too. And I saw, I think the first person I might have seen it was like Ben Flanagan. He's out running in Michigan now. So it's just exciting to see that, because I ran in the 2 or the Cloud Boom Echo. And as soon as I put my feet in the Cloud Monster, I was like, if the next version of this shoe is somewhere in between the 2, which is super snappy and quick, like very fast shoe, if there's a mix between this and like what we feel in the Cloud Monster, then it's going to be dangerous.
Hey, a big shout out, you said Ben Flanagan there. Actually in January, when he signed with On, just over the new year, new contract, he signed with us. We brought him out to Orlando. We had a couple of weeks there testing with all the athletes. He gave us some super cool inputs onto this shoe. We implemented his feedback in there. And then 2 weeks ago, we delivered him the final shoe, smashed the Canadian 10K record on the road.
With the shoe?
With the shoe. Yeah. With the next iteration based on the prototypes and his feedback. So it shows, you know, the athlete feedback being implemented. And I'm not saying it was perfect, but I think it definitely helped them to, you know, to break that record. So that's so cool to see.
And luckily, I think I'll be able to get to interview some of the athletes as well. I love to hear, because when I talked to Joe Klecker, and he was in the beginning of the OAC group, and it's like the one thing that I felt like he was very happy and proud about is that, you know, how he works with On, and it's more like a family thing. But then to hear you all speak on that as well, to say like, hey, we really look for the feedback of the actual runners. It's not just you being artist and doing what you want. It's like, hey, we're doing all this to make sure that the performance is as high as it can be and as satisfying for the runner and performance-wise as well. So I think it's just really dope that you guys are really leaning into that part of it.
Yeah, I think especially at the beginning of the first OAC athletes, they signed with On where we did not have like these spikes. I think they knew that there was a team already behind it, but they signed with the commitment. Okay, now they want to.
It's a lot of pressure you guys got now.
Absolutely, but we also like really appreciate it. And we don't, like, having worked in the industry before, we don't take it like for granted. I think therefore it was quite important for us to take the athletes on board from the beginning.
Mhm.
So in the end, it's not that we create our own little shoe in Zurich and we hand over a box.
Yeah.
Here's the final product. It's literally just somehow building up like a relationship with them.
Yeah.
To get some honest and candid feedback.
Yeah.
And like from the beginning on, from the October to the January in Orlando, and then like to the final products here. But just to get them on board. And what you mentioned as well, not only the race is the journey, but just the development of the product is a journey.
Mhm.
I think the better the feedback is, the better we can actually implement it and make it better.
And so, like, to put together, like, I'll
Mhm.
ask you first as a kind of final question to wrap it up. What is your, what are you looking forward to most in the next, because it's been a fast,
Yeah.
technically fast 11 months for you all. What are you looking forward to in the next 11, 12 months?
Yeah, so the priority for the past 11 months when we started this team and delivering this product is to really build the foundation. So now we've got underneath us some obviously, pretty competitive distance bikes, 2 distance bikes and a really good road shoe. And this is allowing us now to look ahead to Paris Olympics 2024 and be like, okay, how can we build on top of this foundation? Before that wasn't in existence on that such high level here. So I think we've established that. A lot of people are speaking about us. The results speak for themselves. So now we go there with confidence that we can make the next step again.
Yeah, I like that. What are you looking forward to?
I completely agree.
Same.
Like right now, we are already in the development for the lineup for Paris. That's right now the focus. And even then, the time is tight again.
Yeah.
But therefore, like with one focus and
Yeah.
one goal, just to knowing that this one is working quite well. What's the update? What's the next one coming? So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, so congratulations to you all and really doing some great things in the last 11 months. And we really look forward to see what you all have going on. I mean, because from a spectator standpoint, watching Worlds, you see on everywhere on feet. And so it's really cool to see them whipping by. So we know for sure that they can go under 4-minute pace for sure, because those are some fast bikes. But thanks so much for your time, guys.
Yeah.
Look forward to what you guys have coming up. And thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.